you doing?
I'm doing all right.
So tell me your story and what got you here.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it's kind of a long story. Um, I think as a kid, I was always like, I had this like deep, fiery curiosity about what the hell is going on here.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess when I was 22, I had sort of like, I don't know what you would call like a big glimpse or awakening or something.
Okay.
Uh, and that was like 7 years ago. And I didn't have like a spiritual context at the time. It was just sort of like, yeah, how like deeply and persistently I was like asking questions about consciousness and reality. Basically, that's sort of.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, then I think a few years, like kind of life just like went on after that. I was sort of like uh, sort of the contact with that like insight or whatever lasted for only about 3 days, I think,
Okay.
and
What
then from.
happened? What did you see?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of like just sort of a recognition that like this is everything.
Okay.
Um yeah. It's impossible to put words to.
Yeah.
Um but it actually it answered all of my questions that I had been like banging my head against for so long.
Yeah.
And so after that I had like no more curiosity left kind of. I'm just sort of like, oh, okay. It's a big change.
Yeah.
But then life just kind of went on, and I went back into feeling like a self, I guess,
Yeah.
um, which was like pretty confusing. But also, I knew like it couldn't be any other way, right? Um, and so, yeah, kind of life just went on, and then I discovered spirituality. I think a while after that, and it was just sort of interesting at first that like there seemed to be parallels between what I had noticed and then what different traditions and stuff were talking about, um, and I started becoming a lot more aware maybe of my suffering and just sort of got to seeking, and I think the seeking like really picked up over the last couple of years maybe.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I've been on some meditation retreats and met with different people in the non-duality space, and um,
Who have you met?
oh, what was that?
Who have you met?
Hmm. Yeah, so I've been going to Suzanne's meetings for a while.
Oh,
Suzanne,
nice. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went on retreat with Angelo DeLulo uh, last November, so almost a year ago.
He's awesome too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I went on some like Dzogchen retreats initially. Kind of, yeah, I have sort of a personal connection with a longtime Dzogchen practitioner, and so that was sort of my introduction into some of this stuff. Um, yeah, I think that's about it, unless I'm forgetting. Um,
And then how did you get here?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just discovered you. I don't know, maybe a week ago.
Oh, really?
Um, And I had seen your videos like popping up on my feed on YouTube probably for 6 months maybe, and I just
Oh,
never clicked on. Um, yeah, I think I had these like preconceived judgments about your like hat and your stylish glasses, and I was like, I don't like someone who cares this much about its style, knows what they're talking about, or um, But yeah, for some reason I just clicked on one of your videos last week and
You're like, why not?
yeah, I think it might have been the title was like just enticing enough that I was like, yeah, I don't know, it was like just interesting enough for me to click on it. I think for a while I've just sort of like uh I don't know, I've kind of stopped watching like non-dual stuff for the most part and um yeah, the seeking hasn't been so intense I think for a bit, but yeah, for whatever reason I clicked on your video and it was awesome. Yeah, uh it was like almost like every sentence was just like so direct to like reality.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome. And so I watched a few of your videos and um,
Is it the one-on-one videos that you've been watching?
yeah, the one on
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, lately I've just been posting one-on-one videos. I think it's just the most direct. Um, like rather than talking about it, which I did, which I like as well, right? So I just like going directly into it. I think that's just more authentic, I think. And yeah, so what do you believe at this moment, Logan? Just at this very instance, without a past or future. Just a second.
Yeah, I mean, just the second, it's very hard to tell. I don't really know.
Yeah. So if you don't really know, then nothing's really coming up, right? Because this second is all that there is. And without a belief, without a past or future, what's a belief? So if you look at it, what's between a belief and a non-belief?
Yeah, what's between a belief and a non-belief?
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing, nothing's really coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing's coming up, um, is there a next?
Is there a next?
Yeah. Where's the next? Or where's the thought?
Yeah, nowhere. Yeah, it's just like here.
Yeah. So there's nothing else but here, right? So if it's just here and there's no next and there's no past, then this must be it. It's that simple. I
Yeah.
know you'll try to finagle your way out of it, right? But again, it's just a thought that you're trying to go somewhere, right? Thoughts about the past and the future becomes irrelevant because in the absence of a next or a past, then there's just this present moment without a next, without a past, then there must be peace. There must be this immediacy, this clarity, without words, without concepts, without meaning. But yet there's this something that you can't say here, something that cannot be conceptualized. And it's direct. So if there's no next, if there's nothing, nothing, nothing in the past, then where are the thoughts? Are they coming up?
You said if there's nothing in the past, then where are the thoughts?
Yeah,
And they're right here, sort of with everything else.
yeah. Are thoughts relevant?
Um, um, our thoughts are relevant.
Yeah.
I don't know what that question even means. Uh,
Exactly. It's wild.
I think that's where I get stuck a lot, is that I think thoughts are relevant.
Yeah.
Uh,
What's between relevant and irrelevant?
hmm. Yeah, for some reason right now, like when you ask that question, like it feels like it has to be one or the other. It has to be relevant or
What's in between? See if you can go there. See, the mind tries to create opposites, right? To go to the next.
yeah.
But where's the mind?
Yeah, where is the mind?
Yeah. What's
Yeah, I
between
mean,
mind? What's between mind and no mind?
hmm, between mind and no mind.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
If you dive into it, you can't really think.
Hmm.
Nothing will really come up, right? It's
Yeah,
almost like breaking that spell of thinking, between thinking and not thinking.
yeah. So I guess
Yeah.
actually what is here, now that I notice it, is almost like an expectation that something will come up.
What if
Is it?
there's no next?
Hmm.
That's just a thought, right? It's almost like the acceptance of the simplicity of something that is just always here. It's not in the next because the spell of the mind is trying to go to the next, trying to have that fireworks or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
it's over and over, it's always here. That's what I'm trying to present. That if in between thinking and not thinking, there's something that can't be said here. And it's actually quite vast.
Hmm.
It's not in the next. It's like the mind is trying to kind of like go to the next or go to the past to kind of like scramble to figure out what this is. But this has nothing to do with the mind, really, if you look at it.
Hmm.
There's something here that can't be said, can't be known, can't be even be expressed. And that's the simplicity. It's always overlooked. It's kind of like when you had that glimpse you can't make out of, you can't make it out. It's here again.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Without any comparison, without any ideas about the future or the past, then it's always been here. It's never really left. What's between acceptance and rejection?
Hmm.
Because you will either accept it or reject it. It has nothing to do with both.
Yeah, I mean, it is this. I guess it
Yeah,
is fast. I think I kind of see why you say that.
yeah. So what's between this and not this?
Hmm. Hmm.
How are you feeling, by the way?
Hmm. Fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
yeah, I guess maybe just to give you a little more context.
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So like seeing those videos of yours and hearing you ask these kinds of questions,
Hmm.
it was really like repeatedly my mind just went so quiet, just
Yeah,
silent.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and and I think over the past few days, um, there was also some kind of recognition that I hadn't really had before about uh, something about like realizing the relative and the absolute are the same.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just words, really, if you look at it.
yeah,
Everything you'll come up is just words, and we put meaning into it. So even saying the relative and the absolute is just the same. It's just all
yeah,
made up, right?
yeah.
And then it's almost hard to fathom that you're like, is it all made up? But
Mm-hmm.
even the is it all made up is made up, even a question. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just anything that can be uttered, anything that can be thought about, everything that is felt is just made up. And if you go in between what's made up, which is the opposites basically, right? Then there's something that can't be made up. But what can't be made up, we can't seem to capture it.
Yeah.
We can't seem to recognize it. And that's okay because it's not about recognizing or not recognizing. What's in between those?
In between recognizing and not
Yeah,
recognizing.
yeah. And if you're intellectualizing it, you're already doing too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah.
I have some like I don't know, I have a very my mind likes to build very complex, abstract, like subtle,
Yeah. But what if that's
structure.
just a thought as well?
Uh, oh yeah.
Yeah. What are you without thoughts at this moment?
Yeah, I don't know. Like what am I is just a thought too. So
It is. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what is what is between you and a not you?
it is between
A you and a not you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I mean my mind goes to the intellectual
It's
answer.
almost like you prepared for this because you watched the videos, right? The one on
Kind
ones.
of, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I feel like
It's
my
okay.
mind has now like learned the lingo, and so it's just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay. That's okay. You know, I have people that do that too. One
Uh,
person even, you know, if you remember, there's this lady, I can't remember. She watched everything that I've ever put out. And
hmm,
then it's just basically it's not about even surrendering or accepting. It's
hmm,
just being really direct.
hmm.
So in this directness, without any beliefs, without any thought, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean it's just there's no answer really.
Yeah. If there's no answer, that's it basically. Stay in there, stay in there. If there's no answer, then what are questions? What are questions and answers? What's between questions and answers? It's like almost like a vacuum or a void, right? Something that's never been thought of. You can never think of this.
Hmm.
It's between thinking and not thinking. If there's no answer, then there's nothing missing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If there's no answer, then there's yeah.
Then there's nothing missing. Then this must be it. Not what you think of what this is, but this is it no matter what you think or not think. It's always it. Have you been feeling a little bit more peace lately watching those videos? Like a little bit
Oh
more
yeah.
quietness? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. A lot more peace like the last few days.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's basically it. It's just, you know what? The mind now wants to go to get more peace, right?
sure. Yeah, yeah.
What if there's no next?
Mm.
What if this shows up, whatever it is? And your mind will think that, oh, I want more, or you know what, this is not it. It doesn't matter. Every single thought is irrelevant.
Like I feel like you're trying to put yourself out of a job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like, you know what, I don't really like followers.
Hmm. What kind of followers do you mean?
Well, you know what, you become a teacher or a speaker or whatever, right? And then you have a people coming to your meetings every single week, like hoping for something to happen.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm hoping that after the one-on-one that's it.
yeah, yeah,
Saying there's no more retreats or whatever.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
guess I'm really weird and different from all the other people. But I just have friends now, like people that, it's good to just have this normalcy back into the ordinariness of things. So there's an awe and wonder again, not because there's something missing, because people think that I have something really special when that's just a thought. In the absence of thought, what's the difference between you and I?
I mean, in the absence of thought, there's no you and I to begin with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Bingo. Yeah. So
yeah.
what if you start seeing the world in the absence of thoughts? They're going to be there, but when you see that they're really absent,
Hmm. As
right?
in, they're not important, or
Not if completely irrelevant, right? So um I had I had some people that visited me here from the States, and we spent some time, and sometimes the thoughts just black out and seemingly time disappears, which happens to you every day, but when you're thinking, you don't even think of that
sure.
because you're so involved in your thoughts. What with the thoughts? What if there's a shift and the absence becomes more present and the thoughts becomes irrelevant?
Hmm.
That's basically it, the shift in perception. That's why there's more quietness that's happening, or there's more peace. It's because you're encountering something that's just really direct, right? Without kind of like thinking of talking about trauma or the past or the future or whatever. There's nothing wrong with it. But if there's an awakeness that you want to happen, it's in this moment, not in a future retreat or a past, letting go of the past, because those are just thoughts. So in the simplicity of it, right? Because it does take me out of the job because I'm just showing you how simple it is. If you start seeing that the words are all made up, then words like trauma and enlightenment and are all the same made up words. And in the absence of the meaning of everything, then there's something meaningful that you can't say.
Hmm.
There's something that is relevant that you can't feel. And there's no difference anymore, eventually, anyway,
Hmm.
with words that comes up.
Hmm.
And then there's just this peace because you're seeing that what is seemingly happening is made up of a reality made out of words. So, what's even a reality other than just a word? What's even subject and object other than a word? It's like when you're thinking, you're dreaming, but when you're not thinking, it's awake.
Hmm.
It's kind of like being wide awake in a dreamland, basically. And that's basically it. It's not something like you have now, then now you start speaking really slowly and
Hmm.
and start being more spiritual. No, that's just another facade. So I like the way they appear authentically as the guy that wears hat. Someone gave me this hat. See it?
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah. Guy wearing a hat with the guy wearing a hat.
Yeah. And there's just more, you know what, there's just more fun, authenticity, and just quietness.
Say that one more time. I missed the.
There's just more fun, authenticity, and quietness.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because whatever shows up, it is.
Yeah.
Not caught up in what others are saying anymore, or pass down knowledge about what this is. There's almost like seeing the world in a perfect, direct immediacy that is not encumbered by anyone's ideas about it, even your ideas about it.
Hmm.
It's almost like a sobriety from all of the concepts that you've learned.
Mhm.
Because where are those concepts going to take you? More words?
Yeah. It
More realization of words?
seems to be the only place it
More
goes
levels?
for words.
Even levels of words, aren't they? Yeah, so it's just almost like waking up to the simplicity of this and sobering up so that you get back to your life again,
Hmm.
rather than going to retreats and seeking and going to Zoom meetings after Zoom meetings. Stop it. There's something here that is already awake. What do you like doing aside from seeking?
um, yeah, what do I like doing?
And whereabouts are you, Logan?
Hmm. I'm uh, I'm in Washington State, sort of around the Seattle area, but
Oh,
in a
nice.
rural area. Yeah, like a couple
Nice,
hours.
nice. I used to live in Vancouver, so I've been to Seattle a couple
Hmm.
times. Yeah.
Cool, nice.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And yeah, well, I like being outside. I know I know that. Uh,
Yeah. So for
is there
me,
anything?
like, for many, many hours, I used to meditate every day. I was a spiritual teacher for quite a while, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, I heard
and
you.
I used to do a lot of that meditation for 3, 4, 5 hours. Sometimes I would meditate the whole day even.
Yeah,
And now I don't. It's been 8 years. And I like walking, seeing the sunrise and the sunset. Um, just normal stuff, right?
yeah.
And there's more direct relationships, more kind of like more, yeah, I don't know. It's just been I laugh a lot. Which people don't like, by the way. Some people are like, you laugh so much. But but seeing that this is just a joke, that there's
Hmm.
nothing serious here. We take to we tend to take enlightenment so serious that we control and manipulate, our lives to hopefully get to the next, hopefully get to that when the clarity is always here.
Yeah,
It can
yeah,
never leave. And it's
yeah.
just almost like getting used to it, getting kind of like, it's almost like the seeking has become an addiction. So when you hear something really direct, it's kind of like, wait a second, what am I chasing here?
Yeah,
What am I looking for?
yeah. It is really bizarre.
It
Um,
is, yeah.
yeah, and just like how many people will sell that to you, like sell you something, a promise in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's always, you know what, and then in and then you start comparing yourself to, like, speakers like me or whatever, right? That how do I get there? Here I'm telling you, you don't have to get anywhere. That it's already here. It's already done. It's already finished. Like, what do you need more? Right?
Hmm.
When you start seeing that the words are made up, concepts are made up, and everybody will say that, but they'll give you more stuff to do or not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's between doing and not doing?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Just kind of like spontaneity, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Just right now, right? This is just spontaneous. What's between thinking and not thinking?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet and like present. I don't know.
Yeah. That's it, basically, right? Everybody's looking for that quiet and present, right? And here it is. And it's sometimes it's just so simple. Like, is this like there's this lady? And then I just released it today. She's 88 years old. She's been seeking for 50 plus years.
Mm.
And she just came, she's like, she saw all of the greats, like in person, and spent like $500,000 seeking.
Mm.
And then when she got to me, she's like, is this really it? Is this really this simple? And I'm like, yeah, that's it basically, right? You don't even have to believe what I say because you're feeling it, the simplicity. It's palpable, right? You're already feeling some peacefulness and everything. But people want to go to the next, like, well, I want the whole shebang. But that's just a thought. I want the fireworks. That's just a thought. And then 2 days later, we were talking and she's like, oh my goodness, Emerson, I'm finally seeing a tree for the first time. That's it. It's not in the next, it's an unfolding. It's an unfolding. The thought has nothing to do with this one. But there seems to be this unfolding of kind of like, walking and you're like, what the hell is going on? And that's okay not to figure it out. It's almost like, what is happening here without words? What's going on without thoughts? Who am I without a belief? Who am I without an I?
Without what was the last
An
thing?
I.
An I.
Yeah. And if you look at it, I is just a word.
Yeah, yeah.
And the belief gets stronger because you think that there's an I that believes whatever it is. For example, if you say, I am here, I'm like, well, that's just a thought. It's just a belief. So the I is a belief, believing that it's here.
Right, right.
Or I got this. Nope, no, sorry. That's just a belief, believing a belief. Or I did not get this. It's the same belief. So if every single, and now remember this, if every single belief is a lie, it is. And that's the veil, basically. The veil is that there's a belief, a word, a thought. But if you take out the word, and then you see this throughout the day, like, the whole day you're not thinking, and there's quietness there. When you're thinking, you're like, oh, when am I going to get enlightened?
Yeah.
When am I going to wake up? What if there's no next? Then it must be the case already. But not even the word enlighten or wake up, because those are just words.
Right, right.
When you see that there's no enlightenment, that's enlightenment.
Yeah, makes sense.
It does, right? When
Yeah,
you see
it's
that there's no one to wake up, then it's awake. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's always going to appear, you know what? Love all the teachers and speakers, but sometimes their belief gets in the way of what awakening should look like. Everybody's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should not be one cookie cutter awakening. It should not be should go through this, and it doesn't matter. I've seen 1,000 of this happen, right? And it's not, one of them are never been the same. Never been the same. But at the same time, it's already awake. So it's just a thought that keeps this blockage of what should be and what could be and what it doesn't matter.
Yeah, awake is just a word too.
It's just a word, yeah. You're beginning to see it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I think I get it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it is just like the mind, like you say, the mind likes to keep going to the
Oh, the
next.
mind wants to keep on going. Let it retire. It's okay. Mine is retired.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But it was never there in the first place, if you look at it. It's just a thought. The mind is just a thought. There's no
Yeah,
mind.
I mean, there's I can't find a mind anywhere. There's just thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just a thought. Where can you find a thought even?
Um,
Where is it? And if you look at the thought, it's simple. If it's just something about the past, it tries to create a past so it can maintain a future. It tries a past, like a past is trying to maintain a reality that it can maintain in the future. But without the past in the future, where's the thought?
I mean, it seems to have some like shape or color to it, like right now, but
Yeah. But that's a thought too. That's a belief too. There's nothing wrong with thoughts or belief, but when you start seeing the insignificance of it, then there's a wider lens that happens. Then you see what this is as not what you think of it, but as it is. Without words, without any knowledge, without any wisdom, there is something that is so quiet here, right? That it's almost hidden, but it's not. It's appearing everywhere. It's appearing as whatever. And disregard even those words and just, what are you looking at without thoughts? What are you feeling without beliefs?
hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't really know, but it's quite like present, I guess. It's
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
like feels good to be here or something.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
it, basically,
Yeah.
right? That's it. It's that simple.
Hmm.
That's simple, right? It's like there's an aliveness to it, right? It's almost like,
Yeah.
yeah, a
Like
presence.
not having to know.
That's
Um,
the best thing because you know what? How when I was such a neurotic seeker, I wanted to know everything, right? So I would be like this Ramana or Nisargadatta have any secret books that they so it's always in a quest, what do they know about this? But
yeah.
all they you know what, those sages basically always comes back to silence, isn't it?
Mhm.
They'll have lots of words and then silence.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you started, I always talk about this. It doesn't have to be, but there's almost like a ringing of the ear,
Hmm.
like a silence, like almost like a hum.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's what you're talking about. But I have I have noticed over the past few days that I mean, for one, there's just been like palpable silence, like
Yeah.
with no thought. But then sometimes when there's thought, even like there's still silence.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Mhm.
That's what it is, right? It's like it just never goes away. The silence that's always almost like a permanent silence.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's there when you're not thinking, it's there when you're thinking, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Instead of
And
seeing once it's seen, it cannot be. And since once it's unheard, it can never be heard again.
then what once it's
Once it's unheard,
unheard again.
yeah,
Mhm.
like meaning the silence that you're unhearing.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense. It's almost like if you know what I'm talking about, right? But there's just almost like this calmness. And now you know what? And this is not a carrot. You'll hear this over and over again. In the story, in the appearance, it does unfold and it does deepen. There
Mhm.
might be some obstacles along the way. You know what? The thoughts might do a coup d'etat, like a takeover, right?
Mhm.
That, but it doesn't usually last, right?
Mhm.
There's usually kind of like, like I've been talking to people now that's been a year, 2 years of this.
Mhm.
And unless they get caught up in a seeking part again, that's the only thing. If you get caught up in looking for the next again, of course, you're going to almost deny that this is already it because you want the mind, you just bought the mind's idea that there's something more. The more is not in the thoughts, the more is what's in front. It just keeps unfolding
Mhm.
um like using that lady Jolene again, right? She's coming to see me. We're gonna have fun. we're gonna meet each other in Vancouver because it's almost like she's in a celebratory mode now, right? Like after seeking for 50 years, it's just
Yeah.
yeah, and her daughter is going to do a one-on-one with me. So it's so great just to hear that, right? It's like, there's nothing that brings me more joy seeing someone stop seeking because I don't want people to go through what I went through. I went into deep, deep suffering, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's oh my goodness, don't go there, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah,
Stop.
I've kind of been
Stop.
there.
You been there? What happened? Tell me, Logan.
Not as deep as you were.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
probably not really as deep, but um,
Did you go to depression and a little bit of anxiety?
oh yeah, I've had
Oh
a
yeah.
ton of depression and anxiety, and
And so you're so young, you're like in your 20s, right?
yeah, I'm 29 now. Yeah.
So young. You could be my son. I'm like 50, 53 in a couple of days.
Right, right. I think that's another reason I didn't initially click on you is because you looked so young. I thought you were like in your 30s, maybe.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I should make an effort to look older. Uh, no, no, I like that it's just very ordinary, you know what I'm saying? It's like but yeah, you know what? I suffered for, I don't know, like almost like a decade, right? And I can't even imagine, people like Jolene that's been seeking for 50 years, right? So I had anxiety because I'm always waiting for the day that it would happen. Like my life depended on it,
Right,
right?
right.
Did you feel
Yeah.
that too?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Tell me a story. Tell me the story. I like hearing stories.
Um,
It's also good to just clear it out. You know what I'm saying? So that there's,
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, after having that like experience, um,
Oh,
which
yeah.
wasn't an experience, but it gets contextualized kind of as an experience
Mhm.
afterward, maybe. Um, and then at some point, like hearing and learning about spirituality, I think I started getting this idea that like um I don't know, but basically just like my whole identity and self and sense of self got like caught up in like the spiritual pursuit kind of.
Yeah.
This is the thing that gives me value and importance, and it's the reason that I'm better than other people. And um
Oh, you fell for that trap too.
yeah, oh yeah, I've fallen for a lot of traps, I think. But I'm sort of like, and I'm kind of cool with it. I feel like I just need to. I just need to fall for the trap so I can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Um but
Did you go through so many books as well? Did you read a lot of books
hmm.
about this?
Yeah, not like a huge number, but I mean, yeah, I definitely read some books, and yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, discovering all the like YouTube non-duality stuff, and um, yeah, I just kind of like the pursuit and the feeling like I understand something important here, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
with this like non-duality stuff. um,
It's almost like you feel like you have to know it, right? You have to get it.
exactly. Yeah.
And you know what? And that's the way that the mind works, right? It's like it becomes a pursuit for the mind, so it makes it alive. So it actually reinforces the mind, the self, the I, the character, whatever you might want to call it. It
Yeah.
reinforces the illusion that there's something missing. So you keep on going on a pursuit over and over and over again, hoping that you find what you're looking for. But what you're looking for is not in the mind. So that's the trick, right? So you think that it's in the next text or the next retreat or the next speaker, the next teacher that you find when
Yeah.
you don't need any of those. You don't even need me, right? Because it's just so clear that it doesn't even need a teaching.
Yeah. And so then like when you say that, it's like almost unbelievable how many teachers and teachings there are. Like what?
Yeah. I have a high turnover rate, meaning that I get rid of seekers
Yeah.
So I don't have a long list of, you know what I'm saying, because I like seeing people free right away, right? And seeing also that I have nothing to do with it. It's just kind of like saying, just get out. It's like you're in a circus of seeking, right? You're going to one, barker to another when there is just a way out. So I'm just a guy with a sign, this way out. You're like, what? It's that simple?
I mean, it seems so easy. Like getting out just seems so easy. And it
It
almost makes
is.
me wonder, like, why have I not done that already?
Well,
um,
many people try, actually. People, I've heard so many people that they try to get out, right? But you know what? They quit for a little bit. That's what I did actually, is like I did, I did go through so many different teachers and speakers and everything. I got out when after like maybe I just went cold turkey, I just stopped because I was just hitting my head over and over on the wall. And then just one day I just went directly. I was every time that I would have an anxiety or whatever, I just played music because I know that playing music or probably you going out to nature cleared my mind, right?
nice.
And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And then, you know what, and then it just kind of like, day after day, I was like, oh my goodness, what the hell was I thinking when it's always been here?
Mm.
It's always been this simple. Yeah, like what you said, you could have gotten out a long time ago, but you always like a lot of people, you know what, they've invested so much in
Mm.
seeking, especially people that have done it for you've only done it for a few years, right? So,
Yeah.
but enough, because and almost like the glimpse was a curse for you.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say. It's maybe a blessing and a curse.
Well, it's
Certainly a
just
curse,
it's
though.
just a it's just a thought too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
What do you do for work? What do you do?
hmm. Yeah. I'm a counselor.
Oh,
Um,
nice. I get so many counselors and coaches and
yeah.
psychiatrists and psychologists. It's like probably like about 30% of the people that talk to me. Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah. It's really interesting.
yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Like Suzanne's meetings too, I know have a lot of like a very high percentage of people in the kind of mental
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
Uh, what was I going to say? I forgot.
And you know what? I've heard this story that many counselors or, psychotherapists, what, go to the field to help themselves as well.
Hmm.
Right. So and I think that's why I became a spiritual teacher, was also to help myself. Right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then when you start seeing that there's really no self to help. Well, in between self and no self, what's there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll hear it's almost very anticlimactic, this.
Yeah, I really felt
Isn't
that.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely like a disappointment.
And I think Susan Chang talks about that too, right? That it's very anticlimactic. It's just like,
Hmm.
oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow. It's just this? Is this it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, she tends to, there was in one of your videos, I don't remember which one, but you mentioned there's like the love and light people and the doom and gloom people.
Yeah.
I think Suzanne definitely leans towards the doom and gloom, which is
She came from more of the radical, right? So
yeah.
which I did too, to be honest. If you watch some of my older videos, it's more doom and gloom kind of
Mhm.
thing. But you know what? The one-on-ones just outweighed me talking too much about that there's no hope, there's no this and everything. It's just negation. Um, but it did not really, because there's this question that always appears. Why do people that talk about this don't go back to how it happened to them?
Mm.
Right? For example, someone will say that, um, if Tony Parsons got this from walking in a park, why doesn't he just tell people to walk in the park or something like that? Or if Eckhart, you know what I'm saying, it happened when he was depressed, and then he did some acid or something. I don't know, I can't remember. What does he talk about that? So one day it was just clicked. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to express this in the clearest way of how it happened, although it never happened to me. If you know what I'm saying, talking about, right? It's like, how do I bring back that clarity? Because it's just all talk if I just keep on talking about it. So I noticed in the one-on-ones that I was doing, there's more easiness, right? Because there's no pedestals, because we're talking directly. We're like friends. And although some people, you know what, get scared to talk to me. Did you have that feeling?
Um,
Like an
actually,
anxiety?
before the call, I had some anxiety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's very
yeah.
common for me to just have some anxiety. Um,
Yeah, people usually, there's even people that usually can like take a couple of shots before they talk to me because they're so
oh yeah,
nervous, right? Because that's the pedestal. And so what I
right.
do in the one-on-ones is I just ease into it, that there's just no difference between us. It's just two voices speaking,
Mm.
just two sounds, right? Because what I say is irrelevant, you say is irrelevant, but there's something in between the words that is present. There's something that is silent that can't really be escaped, but we seem to focus on what's being said. So I usually ask people to read between the lines of what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
not really to intellectually answer what I'm asking, is to see what's already here. It's it's kind of like me bringing you back to that day that I got speechless when I was like, oh my goodness, because I was about to go through an anxiety, a panic attack, and I just went DJing, and it just all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, these are just all thoughts, and I could not find Emerson outside of a thought. Can you find Logan outside of a thought?
Um, no, I mean I can't find anything outside of a thought.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. But we're so caught up in our thoughts that we think that that's real. And even when we think what real is just another thought. But there's something here that can't be deciphered, it can't be translated. It's silence.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that I can't even teach you or show to you because it's already there. All I keep on doing is keep on poking there. I'm like, okay.
Right. Yeah, right.
What's in between this? Come on, get out. All right. Get out of the seeking thing. So when you start seeing that all words are all made up, then what's missing?
Yeah, no, nothing's missing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like missing is a thought.
Exactly. Yeah. Something is a thought. Anything that we come up with is a thought. Even when we feel something, it's hijacked by an idea that I'm feeling this, which is just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of cool with it. Um, like silence seems to be here.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, basically. The thought
And
will come up with the but the
uh,
but is irrelevant.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have this like habituated um
The next. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's okay. It will die out, right? Because when you don't really pay attention to it, it's kind of like you know what, there's when you started watching those videos, you did not know that your operating system got rebooted like a computer.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems it basically seems to be like what happened.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So tell me, which video did you watch?
I watched a few one-on-ones. I don't know if I can remember any of the people's names. Um,
I like showing different kinds of people, different
Mhm.
kinds of, there's people that fight it all the way to the end, you know what I'm saying? And then they're like, oh, okay. There's people that it happens on a second session, right?
Mhm.
And there's people that like you that have watched the one-on-ones already, then it's kind of like, I just want to make sure that this is, is it?
Well,
It's,
what was super cool was like after seeing those videos, like, so I'm used to like seeing something, a non-dual speaker or teacher or something like posts online and then having this feeling like, oh, I need to talk to that person. Like they get it. I bet I can
yeah.
get something from them. But with you, it was like, it was immediately like, I don't need to go on retreat with Emerson. I don't actually even need to talk with Emerson. Like it's all good. But I booked the session anyway, just because, yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
thank you, man. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And that's what people beginning to see now, right? It's because I'm just being so direct, right? That it's almost like I'm destroying my business, you know what I'm saying? Someone said that. How do you sustain this? Because you get rid of them right away. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'd rather have, the integrity intact, you know what I'm saying? And just saying it rather than stringing someone along. And if I close shop tomorrow and if work in McDonald's and ask what's in between, a Big Mac and no Big Mac. But there's contentment here. But there's so many seekers out there though, right? That they eventually get here. Like people avoid it, like there's people that kind of like what you did. You're like, what is this funny guy with the hat? Um, I like stylish though,
yeah.
with the
Just
funny glasses.
another guy with non-duality as his last name. Like who cares?
You know?
Yeah.
Who started that trend?
I don't know.
I don't know. I might have actually, because I just wanted to disappear in the background for some. I just want. I'm actually an introvert. It's kind of funny, um, and I didn't really like the popularity because I was a spiritual teacher and I did get the popularity. There were many people that followed me, um, and I was always in front of people like every single day, like groups of people, like 50, 100 people every day, and it takes its toll. Like at one point I'm like, or even when and it's just this, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, it's just not for me, right? So even when people are telling me that your subscription in YouTube is getting high, I'm like, no. But I think people are resonating with the one-on-one because it's something new that they're seeing, right? It's not the same format of talking, and doing this. It's like it's more like yeah, it's really direct. And then I get a lot of people that stops their seeking just from watching the video. Yeah, which is great. There's a lot of people, especially from countries that can't, pay the US Canadian dollar, thing. It's too expensive for them. And then I get like heaps and heaps of thank you letters now of people saying, people sending me hats, and it's nice. Although I don't like being popular, I appreciate, I'm grateful for people, that watches the video and supports it and shares it. They're like, check out this silly goose, you know, talking about simplicity, right? So I just make it so obvious and so simple because that's what happened to me. It was so obvious and simple. And you'll hear people over and over again say that it's so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. While also like making it seem so complicated, though.
Yeah,
Just
I know. I didn't
not.
understand that. Well, I
Yeah.
went through my phase of although you know what, I did lots of videos, like in my early, maybe first 2 years, I did I love articulating it, although I know I can't articulate it properly, but there was some poetry. It's almost like you go into a zone, right? When you're talking about this, and I've always been a poet when I was a little kid, according to my mom. So when I started talking about this, and then something clicked, somehow something clicked in the one-on-ones, and I've been just going with that. If it works, why try to fix it? So I just go with what seems to be more immediate and more direct, without complicating it with concepts and ideas. I used to go metaphors. I used to use poetry, although it's almost like like an opiate for the seekers when you
Mhm.
start speaking empty words about how clarity has no language and it's like a sea of silence, that kind of thing. And people get caught up, but somehow those words become a new belief system. And I
Yeah.
notice it because people are talking, in it's always like I would get stuck, not really get stuck, but I'll say something for maybe a couple of months. And that becomes like in the beginning, I used the word emptiness a lot and I got used a lot. And I started using this. And that became a new religion, this. I even scrapped a release of a book that I was supposed to, because
Oh,
it,
wow.
yeah. I have like 3 books that I was supposed to release because I just pick, I mean, I'll probably change it a bit and everything so it's more direct. But there is like an evolution that kept on happening in speaking about this. And the evolution actually is backwards. It just basically is just simplifying something that is so simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
It's like taking all of the narratives out, right? And just having this openness, right? And everybody is going to have a different appearance of this because kind of like our thumbprints and, like how trees are all different from each other. Then apparent awakenings or apparent dropping away of the self or whatever is going to look completely different from each other.
Mhm.
But an earnest teacher wants to share what they know about this, and the knowing gets in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've had that experience a lot with speakers and teachers and stuff. Um, like even if there's clarity and genuineness, just also like the kind of belief systems around it get shared, and then that becomes, yeah, it really like muddies the waters, I
It
suppose.
does. Yeah, it does. Like even when this came into clarity, I always said to myself that um, I want to speak about this, but I'm not going to be a speaker because there's so much clarity here. I don't want to muddy it. Right. And but somehow, you know what, it was almost like a reluctance and accidental speaking. I was just behind the scenes. I love seeing people free. So I was hosting a whole bunch of non-duality speakers, even Suzanne, I think at one point.
Mhm.
And so one day, one of the speakers could not make it. So I was, someone said, why don't you speak, Emerson? You've done one-on-ones before. So it was like a hush that I was doing one-on-ones on the side, but I
Mhm.
already had maybe about 20 people or more that I've ended there seeking, just doing one-on-one. So I had confidence now. So it's almost like I'm ripe to speak, but I was reluctant because I was a spiritual teacher and I didn't like that, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. But
Yeah.
now there's just so much ease, like I love doing this one-on-ones, and there's people that's beginning to do it now too, what I'm
Mhm.
doing. People that have
Mhm.
done one-on-ones with me. Marcin from Poland came this weekend and we had a chat. He only came for a short period of time, but we're just sharing that one of the best thing to witness is someone clearing up like this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think his might have been one of the videos I saw. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. He was here. We had fun. We went to the lake, and very short time he was just in a stopover. But I'm so happy that he came by and just said hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's nice. Mhm.
How are you doing now?
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Feel pretty at ease, I guess.
Was that?
I feel pretty at ease.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Um, yeah. I think earlier when you were talking, um, I don't know, it's kind of like clearing up now, but yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about there's some kind of almost like system shock about just like all the speakers and people who um, I don't know. I guess just like how much I believed there was something, um, just that there was something like something to find or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Although the speakers will tell you there's nothing to find. You've heard
Yeah,
that probably from all of.
that's like the words they'll say. Um,
Yeah.
but they're also it to
But
me
then
it sounds
for
like you're speaking from a place of knowledge, which like makes it sound
yeah.
they know something that you don't, right?
Yeah.
Sort of the impression, at least, like
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna admit to you, I have no idea what this is.
yeah.
And I think everybody should just admit that. You know what I'm saying? So that there's clarity all throughout, right? Because the moment that you think that you have to possess some knowledge or possess some stuff about this, then it's almost like there's a slight delusion there,
Mm,
which is okay too, to be honest with you, right? But it possesses something that even when they say that I have no idea, then you want to get into the no idea.
mhm.
Or, you want to figure out what you can't find out.
Right, right.
Yeah. So the way that the way that this works is I really mean it when I say that it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No gatekeeping, no it's like no it's direct. Whatever is there, right? It's not it's not a disorientation, depersonalization, it's not a bypassing. It's direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely see why you call it sobering up.
Right?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some like intoxication to seeking and imagining, the future
Yeah.
will be brighter and better and more enlightened and
Yeah. It's because you know what, a lot of the teachers and speakers out there are either in an image of either like they have attained something
Hmm.
when they're just really like that.
Right, right. Yeah, and there's like nothing to attain.
No, no, no. It's like otherwise it becomes performative, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's just like a person in a play.
It
Uh,
is, yeah. And it's easy to see that when you start seeing that everything is just made up, then you start seeing that also everyone is already awake.
hmm.
Not your idea of awakeness, not anyone's idea. So there's a respect. There's no lower or less or more or whatever. Because the moment that you think that you're less or more, then you're stuck in the idea that there's something missing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like everyone is
Already it.
yeah, is like equally it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Yeah. Because when I was a spiritual teacher, I tried to change everyone because I thought I was better than them.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would like, casually can like leave like the power of now in my dad's like bedroom. And that book, right? I'm like, did you read The Power of Now, Dad? You know,
Yeah.
when everything is already it.
Hmm.
I'm at peace with everything. That seems even when I'm not at peace, I'm at peace with not being at peace. You know what I'm talking about, right? Because you see the almost like the etherealness of everything that's happening. It's not heavy anymore. Everything becomes light when you see that the words that you believe don't even make sense at all. If you look up a word, it will just come up with more words,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So if you look at levels, what are levels? They're just thoughts and beliefs. Whose
Hmm.
belief? Who did that come from? Right? And if you
Yeah.
can go to the past or the future, then I don't see anything wrong with anything.
Mhm.
There was one time that I was stuck in level work and shadow work and that kind of stuff, right? And
Mhm.
oh my goodness, that was just, I'm like, how much more shadow can I? Which might be work for other people, to be honest with you, right? I'm not knocking it, right? But the way that I see this is just completely direct.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I hear people that have like, years. There's the latest one that I released, you know what? His name is Chrisimir. He's like 10 years of depression, just he could not find it anymore because it's
Mm,
stuck in the infinite. It's stuck in the present moment.
yeah.
And for me too, like, like when it happened, I was going through some of my old stuff and I'm like, oh, Ativan, I'm like, oh, I haven't had an anxiety for the past many, many years, right? So,
Nice.
yeah.
There's another thing I heard you say in one of the videos. Just something about like the labeling of sensations, basically.
Yeah.
Um, like what is anxiety without the label anxiety? Um, that kind of shifted something for me too, because I realized I've been like interpreting various sensations as like something wrong, basically.
Yeah. That's what I did too before, right? I'm like, oh, now I have anxiety. And of course I had anxiety. Now I have to get rid of it. Oh,
Yeah.
that's anxiety. Like every time that I would feel off, that I was anxious about something. And every time that I'm not enlightened, I'm like, like I would always think about, okay, when is the me going to drop? That's what I was like thinking. When am I going to get realized?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I would have a panic attack because I'll be caught up in that loop.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you have the same thing? Did you have
Uh,
panic attacks?
I never had panic attacks. No.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily. Um, but but yeah, a lot of just like an overwhelming kind of overboating sense of like dread and overwhelm a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
depression and
Oh, there were days I could not even get out of bed, because of seeking. I don't know
mm,
if you went through that too. Like, why? The worst thing for me was because I had that initial, like big awakening, and then I lost it. And
mm,
now I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm like, I feel like a fraud. So
right.
it's like,
I've been feeling like a fraud so much just in actually largely in my work as like a therapist.
oh no.
A lot of anxiety about that, but ultimately I think it's for the best because I'm
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like realizing what is an act and like what you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, this is just all a play.
Mm,
It's just all made up. So of course, even the feeling that there's an imposter syndrome is made up.
mm.
It's just a thought, really, if you look at it. Right?
Yeah. Like where even is that? What is
Yeah. Yeah, that was what was hard for me. I don't know why my camera always turns red. Sorry.
oh, mm,
Okay, just a second. Is it still red?
maybe a little bit, but not as much as before.
Okay, good, good. But yeah, that's what was killing me because and then I had to had a confession. I'm like, I'm not enlightened anymore. I lost my enlightenment. And people were like, but you never talked about it before. I'm like, well, I didn't want to talk about it because if you talk about it, then it means that you're not enlightened.
Mhm. Right, right, yeah, yeah.
I wanted to be authentically, enlightened or whatever. And but yeah, you know what? It's I told a few people and they were like, oh, you're so brave in saying that. Right. And I'm like, I have to step down and
Mm,
but yeah. But that was my woe, right? It's like, you know what? Um, I screwed up, like I can't seem to get it back. And I tried, you know, um, I went to teachers, begged them at their feet. I'm like, how do I get this back? And
mm,
they'll say something like, how can you lose something that you never got?
mhm,
And I'm like, oh. So I felt horrible after going to some guru's feet because they would just dismiss me and everything.
mm,
And I started seeing that a lot of teachers, were gatekeepers actually,
mm.
that they have some special knowledge or wisdom that I can't seem to get.
Yeah.
And they have some holiness and that kind of thing that I can't seem to have. And that was quite devastating.
Mm.
And I'm red again. Just a second, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. But yeah. So how many have you visited any ashrams or anything like that?
I've never visited an ashram. Um, yeah, no. Went to a temple in the Bay Area last year
Oh,
for
nice.
a Buddhist
Yeah.
retreat, but um,
And how's that?
um, actually the retreat was a really good experience.
Yeah, some of the yeah, to be honest with you, so I knock try to knock not even knock them. I did like the retreats, to be honest with you. Some of them were good. You meet really great people and that kind of stuff. And you know, but it was just devastating when after I left the retreat that I didn't get anything. Because you feel good
Sure.
during the retreat, but you're like, but I'm not enlightened yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like this retreat was it was kind of the first step in like checking my spiritual ego,
Oh,
basically,
good.
because I'd been like so, I just been like so in my own head with all this stuff, I think, for a long time, um, and like building my identity around this stuff, which I sort of thought I understood and had read about, but and that experience and whatever, that yeah, going to that retreat was like a huge cognitive dissonance for my
Oh no.
yeah, so it wasn't really pleasant exactly, but it was it
Oh
was good.
no.
Um,
Cognitive dissonance is not good.
mhm.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people that are seeker, they have cognitive dissonance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
It's like, they believe that there's no self, but they feel like that there's a self.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can't seem to go into a peace with that because they believe one thing, but they feel a different thing. And that's what happens with a lot of depression that happens is because you start with the cognitive dissonance of like what's going on, right? So, and that's how I felt for quite a while as well, right? It's like, when I got my spiritual ego, my enlightened ego in check, I was like, no.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think that's another thing that you kind of freed me from was the yeah, like the belief that the thing to find is should
I
be
can't hear you.
obvious or something.
Oh, repeat what you said. Sorry,
Oh no.
the
Oh,
okay, it's okay now. You
okay.
said that the belief that
Yeah, the belief that that the thing to find is like no self. That there should be like definitively no self, and that should be like evident and obvious, sort
yeah,
of.
yeah,
Um,
which is just a thought, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
the thing, right? There's even in many different, it's funny people don't catch it that in some religious, some spiritual, and even radical non-duality, it's a belief system that
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
no me or no self, or in Buddhism, the anatta thing, right? It's a
right.
belief.
Yeah, yeah. Because like I listened to I mean, I never got super into the radical
Yeah,
essay, except for just recently. I kind of was checking it out more. Um, but um, But yeah, it's like they'll say, "This is it," and I'm like, "Yes, okay, I'm with you up till then." But then
yeah.
they'll start talking about the me and
I know, contracted energy, and
yeah,
right, and then it becomes a belief that there should be no me, right?
great, yeah,
And it's so wild to think that that it should be this way, which is, to be honest, which is just some other guy's idea of what this should be. So
hmm
according to that guy, there should be no me, there should be no contracted energies, boundless energy, although there's wisdom in a lot of that, but it just becomes a belief system. It becomes something that you buy, something that you're hoping, it becomes another carrot,
yeah,
because you'll keep on listening to that until you have a full-on belief system, not that there's no me.
right,
So
yeah,
when you have a full-on belief system that there's no me, then you're caught up in your own delusions again, thinking that, where's the freedom in that, really? It's the same thing as believing that, Jesus Christ is your only savior.
hmm
It's the same belief system if you look at it. So according to someone, and it's so the way that I try to present this is like, don't believe in what I say, but But here it is. Read between the lines. It's like it's a not I can't say this, whatever this is. And I'm really blunt about it that no one knows about this. And everybody will tell you that too. No one will get this. But somehow I got it, is what you get from listening to them. Right?
Yeah.
If you got to my position, if you lose your me, then that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's all good, right? It's just all different interpretations. And I'm glad that people are just discovering this direct thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like puzzling that there aren't more, at least that I've seen, there aren't more people sort of saying what you're saying.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Because you know what? We're all talking about the same thing, but there's more. Martin's going to, there's a couple more that's just in like some people want to take their time, you know what I'm saying, to see. They want to deepen into the clarity basically in the story anyway. Right. So I think this will start showing up more.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like, again, this is just a story. It's almost like an evolution of radical in a way. Because radical is great, you know what I'm saying, but it got stuck somewhere in the contracted energy. It got stuck in the idea of the no me, because if there's no me, why talk about it so much?
Yeah.
Someone was talking to me like, I'm nauseated with the me, Emerson. If there's no me, why talk about it so much? I'm like, I have no idea. So when I'm in spirituality, I was a shit disturber, also in non-duality. And that's why people can't usually take me. They're like, what the hell? Right? Because they have invested so much in their belief system. Like, for example, if you listen to a speaker, your loyalty, have no loyalties. Loyalty is just a word that will get you stuck with someone's idea of what this should be. It should be not anyone's idea. If there's really no me, then it should not be a belief system. If there's no me, there should be no one defending their belief system. It's so funny because I have some speakers now that are defending, radical, and by putting me down, basically, I'm like, well,
yeah, like what are you like? What are you defending exactly?
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I don't, for me, like any debate is a moot point because I have nothing to debate about. Right? So, but if they really want to debate, say it's a moot point. Like, what's there to debate about?
Who are you going to convince about this?
I know. They were so funny because there was this speaker that was like, like just poking fun. He would be like, this message has nothing to do with thoughts. I'm like, well, that's also a thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then when you start seeing that, right, it's like, it's just, or if they say that the in-between is a dream, I'm like, well, that's also just a thought. I'm not giving the in-between belief system. I'm just basically trying to express that in between duality, there's something that can't be said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The in between was like very effective for me. Like the first, many times hearing it. I feel like at some point it kind of turned into a thought and then it's just like words.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of the point. So
that's the point. Yeah. When you start seeing it, it's just pointless, saying. Then you're free from the, free. It's almost like a non-practice practice. There's practice first, and then all of a sudden, it's not necessary. It's almost like someone explained to me, like kind of like when you have, when your computer is rebooted, then you have a virus detector, like what do you call it, like a virus killer or something. You'll need it, and then eventually there's no more virus that comes. It doesn't work. That doesn't, because all the virus is gone.
Yeah.
So thoughts like a virus, if you really look at it, right? That just creates this operating system to malfunction, repeating over and over and over again, of what is missing, what is missing, what is missing, what's next, what's next. So it misses out on the grand appearance of what can't be said, what can't be named, what can't be thought of, the unthinkable, the unknowable. Here it is, in its full glory, right? she'll hear it over and over again that it's unthinkable. But why keep on, creating more narratives about it?
Yeah, why keep thinking about it? Why
Yeah.
why keep talking about it?
Yeah.
Can we just move on? Can we just
Yeah. There's no me, but. And that's what the talks are, right? If you look at those meetings, it's just nonstop talking about something that can't be talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which really kind of creates the image in the mind that there is something. Surely there's something that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm curious.
I'm just resetting my camera again. Go ahead.
Um,
I don't know why it's turning red. Sorry, go ahead.
that's all right. I was just thinking um, earlier about suffering.
Yeah.
Uh, and because I guess maybe this originally came from Buddhism or Hinduism, but the idea that like suffering is the problem and like liberation is the end of suffering. And also that suffering is something bad in the world and we should do something to
Exactly. So what's between suffering and liberation?
in between suffering and liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
There you
It's
go. Yeah. So
whatever.
the knowing is suffering. The unknowing is liberation, if you look at it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you go between knowing and unknowing, there's something that you can't say. And there's just peace.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
almost like the moment that you feed the fuel to the mind, right? It will keep on going and going. But if you snuff it out, then there's nothing missing.
Hmm.
It's almost like if you are trying to sober up, you know what I'm saying? From thinking, don't go to a bar where all of the bartenders are serving shots, and that's what's going to like a teacher or speaker is like they're giving shots of the next. So you get intoxicated now in the next, and you suffer because you're thinking that you're missing something that they have, when you just really want to sober up. And all the bartenders are offering, like awareness, consciousness, nothing, dropping off the me. It's all in the next. End of suffering, all that kind of stuff is in the next. When
Hmm.
you can just get out of the bar and just say, you know what? I'm tired of drinking. And then see the trees, see the ocean, see your friends.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the words are intoxicating. So you go to you know, a bar full of words,
Hmm.
and the words will just present, a next or a past. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
got caught up in that. At one point I just admitted, I'm like, well, life is suffering. So here it is.
Hmm.
And I just bought that ideology for quite a while.
Right.
I didn't think that there was a way out, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I tried to seek to get a way out of suffering, but the suffering is just a thought.
Yeah.
So trying to think how to get out of suffering is suffering.
Right.
Trying to think how to end the suffering is suffering.
Yeah.
And then you're in a loop. You're just in a closed loop.
Totally.
Yeah. But when you start seeing that without thinking, there's no suffering. In the absence of thinking, we're suffering. Because I can't seem to, because I've seen, I'm from the Philippines, right? I've seen people in complete poverty, completely happy.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
come here to the West, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, you have so many people with everything that they could have, right?
Hmm.
Suffering. Millionaires, you know what I'm saying? People that have everything seemingly, like Some people that would say that I don't have any problems with money whatsoever, right? Or scarcity or anything, or I have the best, whatever. And they're suffering because they think that they need something more than this, whatever this is.
Yeah.
And this can't be taught about. So since this is complete, you know what I'm saying? Oh, that's just even a thought. But you know what I'm talking about, right? That this can't be known. Trying to know it is the suffering. How can you know something that's unknowable? Even trying to know the unknowable is knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of what creates the like tension or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Do you think that there's something missing? You think that, oh, you know what? Give me a second. Okay. I'm just going to fix my camera. It's blinking. Just a
Okay,
second.
no problem.
Just give me a moment. Sorry. Okay. This should do right now.
Cool.
I changed camera. Okay.
Mm.
At least I
That's
don't look
right.
red.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's the simplicity is often missed because of many philosophers. They're
Mm.
philosophizing something that cannot be philosophized. They're intellectualizing something that can't be thought of, really. But there's usually what happens when there's usually a shift is that there's clarity, but the words muddy it. But when someone thinks that they know, it muddies what the clarity that they have, and they make it into concepts and ideas, and they'll have a concept that there's no me,
Mhm.
and that becomes the basis of like a new belief system, basically. So from the no, if there's no me, then there's no free will and choice. There's no this, there's no that, there's no this, and everybody else is wrong. For some person, it will say that there's only awareness, and there's or the I am, for example, then it's influenced by religion, influenced by spirituality. When spirituality, religion, or even atheism, which is the doom and gloom, you know what I'm saying,
Mm.
is all belief systems.
Mm.
If you look at it, right, and
Yeah.
people get caught up in that narrative, and no wonder no one gets free from those talks. No wonder, like, you know, it's almost like a lottery system, because you
Mm.
can say that there's no me, can snap you out, but you will derail again because now you have a belief system that there's no me.
Mm.
Now there's cognitive dissonance because they're like, well, I believe that there's no me, but I feel that there's a me here.
Mm.
So what's up with that, right? So in honesty, you know what, when there was when there was this seeing through it, I did not know how to articulate it. So I just went along with what the clearer version of it, which is basically without the influence of spirituality, right? There's nothing wrong with spirituality, but I did do that. You know what I'm saying? That um, I did study Buddhism, and I can't seem to get out of that web of knowledge, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so complex, right?
Mm.
Have you read some of those books, that some of those like thick books of Buddhism?
Yeah, I've read some like Dzogchen
They'll
stuff and
check. That's pretty good, you know what I'm saying? But if you get into the different sects of it, right? It's like For me, the clearest teaching of the Buddha is when he brought a flower, and this is the whole teaching, and that should be it. And that's what I'm trying to express.
Yeah.
Right. Not some scholarly idea of what this should be and what this is not, and everybody's great, I'm saying, great at expressing it. And sorry, my dog is playing with a golf ball. I don't know if you hear it. So yeah, so it's just the simpler, the better. And that's why I'm not putting out any videos explaining this over and over again, because there's nothing to explain. How can you explain this over and over again? Right? And people are saying that, oh, I like your videos when you're explaining things. I'm like, but what's that going to do? Maybe I'll release some, but more directly. What's that going to do? Right? People are, you know what? And it's funny, right? People, sometimes the intoxication is still high that they don't want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. Or they want to just maintain that belief system so that they're in a community of people with a similar belief system.
Right.
Yeah. And that's why I don't really like communities, to be honest with you, too, because it just creates this group think that, that there's hierarchies now, there's the inner circle, there's people that have glimpses and everything. There's people that are in the knowledge now, so they possess a whole bunch of knowledge. What's the point of that? Yeah. And it's funny, right? Because it's about, if it's just about friendships, how come when someone changes or can like changes what they're talking about, like a belief system, they drop that person? I have people that basically drop me because they don't adhere to what I'm talking anymore, because I have rebelled against radical non-duality. I'm just exposing it for what it is, right? It's just all words. And which is what they say too in something, but they're just caught up in the narrative of the me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's some kind of like double speak. Like people are saying
It is.
Another.
It is like, what's that book that had double speak? Is it like 1984?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. I remember they were like saying that the prices of the chocolate has gone up by $20 because of attack from Eurasia or something, whatever. And then by 20 cents. And then they'll say, like the next day, they're like, the prices is decreased, which is basically the same.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that book because it exposes how language is.
Nice.
It exposes,
Maybe I
what's
should.
that?
I've never actually read the book, but maybe
Of
I
how
should.
it can actually confine you and basically trap you. And that's what non-duality can get to, is when you start believing in the words of an authority figure, you don't question it. You blindly follow along. And then 40, 50 years later, you're still seeking because you believe someone that declared that there's no me. But I'll talk about the me nonstop.
Yeah. How do I get the no me? I know that that's true, but I just can't feel it for some reason. What's wrong?
And again, that's a classic of taking a position and calling it no position, which is double speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or saying that this is not a teaching, but it's a teaching because you're learning now that there's no me. And they're calling, oh, this is not a teaching. That's double speak.
Yeah.
But there's no me, but I'm going to talk about there's no me, but I'll talk about the me nonstop from now on.
Yeah.
So that you keep on coming back, hoping that you will figure out that there's no me. Double speak, right? It's manipulative if you look at it. So I was wondering what was happening, because it's in the absolute. You can speak from an absolute, you know what I'm saying? And disregard the relative. So from the absolute, you'll say that there's no you, there's no time, there's no relationships, there's nothing to do. And the relative, you'll say, well, there's a me, there's time, right? There's some beautiful, like something that you can say about, but that's just taking another position. Relative or the absolute are just thoughts. So there's no me, it's just a thought. There's no you choosing to do anything, it's just a thought. Or even kind of like the negating, not negating. This or not this is also this. It's just another thought.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That was another little hook I had, was around like time. Just
Yeah,
hearing so many people, always saying there's no time,
yeah.
um, was also making me think like I must be experiencing something wrong.
Yeah. No, that's just another thought. If you go between time and what's between time and no time?
Hmm.
Because we're caught up in the illusion of words. Because if you believe one side of it, then that's still an illusion,
Yeah.
right? If you believe that there's no time, there's still a belief there. And it stems from there's no me. So the blueprint of radical, that there's no me. So if there's no me, then there must be no time. There must be no whatever, right? There must be no you, no others, no whatever. But that's just all thoughts. That's
Yeah.
not how you experience things.
Mhm. Yeah. And like trying to like conform into those thoughts is such a restrictive like
It is, yeah. And I have a person that had did not book a session with me, but a had clarity after many years of seeking, just watching the one-on-one videos. So he showed up in my video thanking me for, because oh my goodness, Emerson, it's over. So he got invited to talk with another radical speaker, and then the person said, oh my goodness, Emerson, after they talked to me, he goes, I felt like I was getting lectured, because he was
Mm.
free with his language, and because the radical would correct over and over what you're talking
Oh, man.
about.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
annoying.
it's annoying, isn't it? Right? Yeah. So where's the freedom in that when someone's belief system lords
Right.
over another belief system for you to conform into that? Because if you have a person from the awareness, then they'll stand by it's all I am, or awareness. So if you put those together, then there'll be fights kind of like happening, but they don't see that this is a belief and that's also a belief. What are
Yeah.
you without those beliefs?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember after watching some of the radical
Who did you
stuff,
watch?
Jim Newman mostly.
Yeah.
Checked out a couple other people too. But on one hand, like I could, like there wasn't a effect from hearing it, and that I could feel it kind of pointing toward. I mean, it seemed to be like pointing toward the almost like that experience that I had had.
Yeah.
Um, and and I could also feel like the frustration of the so-called me, and hearing it and kind of having nothing to get from it.
Yeah.
And
You know why? Because they're speaking from that glimpse. That's the
yeah,
key. They're
seems
speaking from the glimpse. When somebody had a glimpse, it's kind of like, I can talk about orgasm, but I can't show it to you.
like
That's kind of for somebody that's never kind of like they're coming from that orgasmic, like it's
yeah,
boundless energies, whatever. So from a person that had a glimpse, you're like, oh yeah. But the
yeah,
frustration about it is that it presents to you in the next, not at this moment.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess so. They'll all the words they'll say are like it's here already. There's nothing to find. It's already complete.
yeah. But you still have a contracted energy, so you'll never get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a
But
me there, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So they
Uh,
become gatekeeper in a sense, rather than a welcome committee, or kind of
yeah.
like someone saying, oh, you're out, it's done, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
really mean what they
When-
talk, then they'll be more kind of like cheerleaders, not the doom and gloom kind of thing, right? If it's already this, wouldn't it make sense to go, this is it, awesome, you
yeah.
made it,
This is great.
Logan, this is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than saying that this is it, but you know what, contracted energy and all this bullshit, right? Or but you will never get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's
So
coming from that positioning, and that there's no me, but they don't see that that's just language. It doesn't matter if me or no me, because If it's already it should not be an opposite of something.
Mm.
You get
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it should not be a denial of whatever seems to be appearing. It should not be a negation anymore. It should be just full on cheerleading. Hooray! Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, yeah. Even that too. You know what I'm saying? If they really mean what they say, but it's almost like double speak again, right? Because you're like, you know what? And if you look at those meanings, people look so miserable,
Mm.
so miserable. Or some people that bought into the belief system, yeah, it's so great that there's no me and everything, right? They just become sycophants of the person of radical non-duality. And that's what it is, right? But it's so easy to copycat that because you just have to come from a position of no me. So
Yeah.
it's there's already a blueprint to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of parrot, you know what I'm saying, that's happening. So you think that this must be the most effective way because there's a lot of people are copycatting it.
Mm.
But if you really look at it, it's just the same thing as someone kind of like, talking about awareness over and over and over again. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with but both are thoughts. And people get offended when I say that there's no such thing as I am or awareness, or there's no such thing as no me or me for that matter. When you call out a belief system and people get challenged by it, that's good.
Mm.
That's good. Because the more that you hold on to, but it's almost like I don't um if for example, if I start talking about the no me, then you'll keep on listening to me. Then you'll keep on booking with me and saying that, well, Logan, unfortunately, there's still a contracted energy there. You
Yeah.
need 20 sessions with me to do that. It's the same thing as basically thinking that there is some levels that you have to go through.
Mm.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
that you have to, if you have trauma, go to a trauma specialist, not to a non-duality speaker.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Right? Go to a therapist, you know, saying that have worked with trauma, but don't make that as an excuse for you not getting this, because you could have trauma and still get this,
Mm.
right? And then when you get this, you know, I'm saying not you, but getting this in between thing, then the past and the future does not make sense anymore. So there's a softening, there's almost like an eradication of that.
Mm.
Yeah. But for people that are really suffering, you know what, go to a therapist and everything. But people want to wake up. Here it is. Yeah. So what kind of counseling do you do, Logan?
Mm. Yeah, I work with individuals,
Okay.
adults, and some teens.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, cool.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
you do a lot of depression and all that kind of stuff, and
yeah,
people that have anxiety.
anxiety
Yeah.
and yeah, the stuff that people come into therapy for,
Yeah.
basically.
That's what I'm saying. People have going through depression are not really interested in non-duality. Go to a therapist. Go to a
Mhm.
counselor, right? That makes more sense. It's kind of like you know, yeah. That's what I mean by that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, I think it works that way.
yeah. It's kind of funny how, like, even in my own head, somehow I got this idea that like non-duality is like the ultimate. It's the absolute.
It's
It's
just
the only way to get rid of suffering. You know?
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no. You know, non-duality is just a thought if you look at it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
And
we're
and
all
it's
just
just
still here doing what we're doing and going to
yeah.
therapy if that's what we need.
Yeah, you know what? It's therapy is therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? I did go to therapy when I was going through my anxiety and depression, right? And because I realized that no amount of reading non-duality text would ever get me some clarity. But somehow, you know what I'm saying? I went through that. And then I also went through, you know, when there was clarity of thoughts, if there was just no thoughts, I even forgot about therapy.
Mm.
Like I forgot about the anxiety because there
Hmm.
was just this presentness that was appearing. But I also recommend it for people that are going through that
Hmm.
rather than relying on non-duality as a cure-all, because that's what I was hoping for. but I
Yeah.
kept on failing over and over again. I just kept on getting, it's almost like the more that I went to it, the more depressed and anxious I got.
Mm.
The more that I was looking for liberation, the more suffering I got.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just like it's just like putting attention into this carrot that's dangled out and actually ignoring the anxiety and depression, which is sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, which is what needs to be felt and integrated
Yeah.
or whatever
It's
you want.
almost like when you're bleeding, you know what I'm saying? Instead of attending to your wounds, you're looking at that carrot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
There's no more suffering when you can attend to the wound right now. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? When you can make it, but it just goes worse because you're not attending to it anymore. You're just looking at the
yeah,
carrot.
right.
Well, when there's no me anymore, there'll be
Mhm.
no more bleeding. Meanwhile, you're bleeding to death.
Or there will be bleeding, but you won't care about it
That's
anymore.
right. Yeah. It's kind of like what I say, right? If your house is on fire, you're not going to say that, well, there's no one here. Nothing is happening.
Mhm.
Surely you're going to, you know, pick up the phone and call, the fire department and run out, basically, right?
Well,
Call
maybe
911.
maybe if you're deep enough into non-duality, you'll just sit there knowing nothing's happening
Well,
until you
the
burn to death.
clearest non-duality speaker, Emerson, burned to death because he said that there's no one here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing happening, right? Rest in peace,
How enlightened.
How enlightened, he got burnt to a crisp, right? He just didn't move. Then you'll see a whole bunch of people, setting their houses on fire to get there.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, maybe so. Uh, I mean, yeah, setting your house on fire and burning to death is a way to something, maybe.
That's right. There'll be no me after.
Uh,
Definitely,
yeah.
but that's the danger of double think, double
Mm,
speak, group think, right? Group think, especially, right? When people start, believing and assert that it should be this way, then people don't even know it, that just became the new religion.
mm,
It just becomes a new, it's almost like a cult, mentality. The moment that I get so many radical non-duality police and awareness police, for that matter, too, right?
mm,
Basically, kind of like correcting everything that I'm doing. That's a
mm,
first awakening. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to say that to a 50-year-old, an 88-year-old woman that has had suffering? You know what I'm saying?
mm,
No,
mm,
there's no first, there's no last. It's already.
mm,
And that's the tendency when there's a belief system that it should be this way and that we don't respect the character, you know what I'm saying, that is going through that, right? I don't see a first or a last. I see it as is already. Because if I tell you that this is your first, but you're stuck with me for the next 30 sessions, Logan,
mm, mhm. Yeah,
then I still am offering a carrot, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like giving a glimpse, and it's like giving the first one free, so that people keep.
Well, if you do the 10th one, you know what? Then I'll give you a certificate and everything. And that's what happens with levels and on all that kind of stuff, right? They probably mean well, to be honest with you, but it does not apply to everyone.
Mm,
It does not apply to everyone, right? I saw someone that was suffering through trauma and everything. And I said, hey, you know what? Maybe go to a therapist. You know what I'm saying? You can work with me and everything. I can show you some clarity, but work with a therapist too, right?
mm,
And not bypass, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Um,
mm,
and not work with someone that's working with spirituality, not knowing what trauma is, right? Not
mhm.
knowing what addiction is. That's what counselors are for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or thinking that if you go to a trauma release workshop that you'll be fine. No, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Um, but the same token, you know what I'm saying? There's just openness here. Like, so everything is allowed, nothing is denied, right? So if people wants to listen to radical or awareness, that's cool. But I always say that that's just a thought.
mhm.
The clarity does not need any boundaries, right? So does not need any knowing or anything like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Very, very sobering.
It is, right? Because it's so hard to get so intoxicated in this, because the come down is really, really hard. Because you can have a glimpse again, yeah, right? But when you lose that, then you think that you're bad or you done something wrong. That's what happened to me, right? Because I thought I did everything right. Like, what did I do wrong? I'm like, oh, I should not. I was even thinking that I should not feel bad for my mom who has brain cancer, because I'm supposed to be enlightened. I'm supposed to be free from suffering. But I
Yeah,
just really wanted to be a mama's boy and say, Mom,
yeah, that's like torturous.
it was. Yeah. So no matter how much I meditated, or I was in a relationship, I was in a marriage actually. I forgot about that. And it was going down the drains because my priority was my enlightenment. Just a belief, see? And that's what creates all of the conflicts in the world, is just a belief. One person's belief against another person's belief. And there's chaos. So what are you without a belief? Sober.
Yeah.
At peace, right? And that's when you start seeing that all thinking are just beliefs. It doubles down because there's a hidden I behind any belief. I believe this. So when you see that the belief is just creating more beliefs, then you see the facade of everything. Then you see the directness of what's happening. There's almost like an alternate reality based on thoughts. But that alternate reality is not even reality. It's just what is.
That's interesting. The hidden I in each
Yeah.
belief.
Right? Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been wondering for a while, like, what is a belief even?
Yeah. It's a lie.
Yeah, it's just like a thought with also the thought I believe.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like a double thought if you look at it.
Yeah.
So a belief is a thought supporting a belief, which is just a thought. So it's a double belief. But when you go in between that belief, this is clear, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell what I'm believing right now. So there's
Yeah,
not much.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to stop the recording here. Just